Hi guys, and welcome back, or welcome to my channel. My name is Michaela, and today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite reads in 2022. I get we're completely almost through 2023, but I made my booktube in 2023, so we haven't really touched on some of the books I adored in 2022. I probably name dropped a few of these, but I've never really elaborated on them, and I want to do that because I love all of these so much. So hopefully with this video you might get some recs, or I might just be talking about some of the books you adore, but you know, who doesn't love talking about them? So we're just gonna get into it. I have 9 of them here and the majority are 5 stars, so yeah, we're just gonna go over these and see what we have. Okay, so first we are going to start with The Cutesy Love Hypothesis by Miss Ali Hazelwood. I love this book. I gave it 4 stars when I read it. It's a story about Adam and Olive. And Olive is just this like cutesy, bubbly character. And her best friend is like, girl, you need to be in a relationship. You need da-da-da-da-da-da. And she's just like not really interested. But she wants to convince her friend that she has this relationship, da-da-da-da-da, so she'll get off her case. So Olive legit ends up kissing the first person she sees, which is our boy Adam. And obviously he's grumpy. He is known as the ass on campus because nobody likes him. He's just a total grump. But we know he has a soft spot for our girl Olive. So yeah, they just like, she walks up to this guy in the hallway and it's the first man she sees, so she just kisses him. And for some reason he agrees, let's do this little charade, act like we're dating, it'll be fun. And we just get to follow. I love fake dating. It's like, I have a soft spot for it. It's grown on me a lot more than last year. But oh my god, I loved the complexity of their relationship and how things just started to spark, and they're so cute together. And the way that Ali writes this book is super cute. Like every chapter has like a little hypothesis in it, and that just is so cute to me. I love that. But yeah, like I think Adam was one of the first characters that really got me like kicking my feet because he's so cute and the things that come out of his mouth are just perfect. I love the way he talks to Olive and their relationship in whole, really. So I really enjoyed this one. I know it gets a lot of mixed opinions on it, but I adored it. Like I would read it again, and I probably will at some point when I can get to it. But right now my TBR is so full that I just don't feel like I have room for rereads, if you know what I mean. But yeah, 4 stars for The Love Hypothesis. I adored it so much. So I should probably get to reading Love on the Brain, but I just haven't done it yet. But I need to because I really, really like this book. On to the next is, I think I've name dropped this one a few times just because, Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. Literal gold. Like, it's perfect. It pulls at your heartstrings. Like, oh my god, Archer, he's so perfect, and he went through so much. So just seeing him grow close to Bree and them having this relationship, and he finally has somebody who understands him and listens to him and wants to fight for him. Oh, I just loved it so much. It was beautifully written, to say the least. Like I think I ate this one up pretty fast too. Like this one was so good. So yeah, Archer he's been through some things. His life is challenging, but also Bree's is as well. She's been through some traumatic things. So she just moves to this small town in Maine, I think. Yeah. She moves to this small town in Maine just to get away from everything, you know, not expecting to find Mr. Archer Hale. But when she does, they quickly become just inseparable. They're the best of friends. She rides her bike to his house. It's just, it's so cute. It's perfect. The story of them. And then the end. Oh my god. Oh no. I hate when I do this to myself. I knew the ending was good, so I just wanted to refresh my memory, and I'm literally about to cry, so we're gonna stop reading. The ending. Oh my god. I love a book that can make me cry. Like, please make me cry. And this one did. I'm literally about to cry. This happened to me the other day. I picked up If He Had Been With Me, and I was reading like some of the last chapters. We're just gonna move on to the next. This is a heartstringing book. I gave it 5 golden stars. It was perfect. You will love Archer and Bree. I don't think there's a way not to love them, really. They're so perfect, and Mia knows how to tug on your heartstrings. She does. Like, I just want to sit here and read this book over again now. Honestly, there's a lot of these in here that I do want to reread, so I will at some point. Bringing up the next one. Okay, this one was also a tearjerker. I cried on this one because All Your Perfects by Miss Colleen Hoover. This is my favorite book by Colleen. It's just perfect for me. So this book was one of those that's very, very emotional. I was screaming, crying. I was very, very affected with this book just because, I mean, the situation that the couple is going through the entire time is just like, oh, I hate this for them, you know? And then we get to freaking, I have so many curse words drawn on one page because I was so mad. Oh, but it was so good. Like, I was so invested. I read this book very quickly as well. What can you do? They're all good. But yeah, this book literally just, it shattered me to my core. It was so emotional, and I feel like this was the book with the box. Is it the book with the box? Yes, it's the book with the box. Oh my God, the box is so freaking cute. I'm not gonna say what's in the box because the whole story we're wondering what is in this wooden box. And when it gets to the end and you find out, it's just so sentimental and adorable, and I love it so much. So this story, I enjoyed it. I know people have a lot of mixed opinions on Colleen, but she honestly got me back into reading. I randomly picked up Ugly Love. It was so random. I don't even know why I did it, but I picked it up and I read it in a day. I sat in the garage and literally just ate it up really fast. And from there we got to here with so many more books. I love it. But yeah, she got me back into reading. So I read this one soon after reading Ugly Love, and I loved it. It was 5 stars for me. If I read it again, I feel like it'd be 5 stars just because of how much emotion is in this book and how real it is. Colleen writes real shit, and I love that. It was perfect. So I definitely recommend All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. It was beautiful. This next one, I know I've talked about it before because everybody talks about this book. It's so good. It's one of my favorite, but not, if I have to pick a favorite out of Emily Henry, it's going to be Happy Place just because that book touched me so much. But my second favorite is definitely Beach Read. Everybody loves this book. It's perfect. So if you haven't read it, please do so because it's so worth it. This book is about Gus and, January. And I've definitely talked about this before. They're both authors, but they write completely different material. They're not the best of friends. I think they're actually like competing kind of. But they both go and they stay in this area and it's beach houses, and guess what? They end up right next door to each other. And so at first it's just like, whatever, he's next door, but then they start kind of interacting and they decide to strike up this deal. He's like, yo, I bet you can't write the stuff that I write, and vice versa. So they decide to switch. Hold on, my boyfriend's calling me. I kind of forgot. I think we left off talking about how they switched the way they write. Like, she starts writing his kind of stories and he starts writing her kind of stories. Just like this fun little thing, And we just get to watch them start tolerating each other, I guess you could say. And they start having this friendship, and it's just so freaking cute. Like, I could read it all over again. I love it so much. And the things that Gus says, stop. It's so perfect. I am gonna go ahead and say this and freaking stick to it. I will be rereading this in the summer of 2024 just because I loved it so much. And I need to, I feel like I've gone long enough now that I could reread it and some things would still surprise me. So I definitely want to reread this one. It was so good. I'm technically just making a reread stack at this point, but it's fine. So next we're gonna talk about a very explicit book. Not for young children at all. Definitely be 18 or older if you're going to read this next book. because whoa, buddy, everybody that has read this book knows that lollipops will never be the same. And with that being said, A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime by Monica Murphy. I loved this book so much. It was recommended to me by a Booksta friend on Bookstagram, and I just loved it. I was honestly kind of scared going into it because it was my first explicit book, and I loved it so much. Ren and Crew, I love the dynamic of the two and the whole Chanel lipsticks. It's just, I loved it so much. Okay, now, I will say, I gave this book 5 stars, but the amount of times that it's referenced how she's a virgin is kind of ridiculous. Like, yes, we get it. She has never had sex before. Okay. Got that on page 1. Actually, we got that by the synopsis. But it said so much. That was the only thing that kind of like, I was like, okay. But I love this book so much. It was so nitty gritty and I loved it. It was beautiful. I definitely recommend reading Ren and Crew's story if that's the cup of tea you enjoy. It got me indulging in a bunch of different teas afterwards. So, okay, and following that is going to be Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Why do I feel like I'm saying that wrong? Delia Owens. We're gonna go with that. Where the Crawdads Sing is such a beautiful, beautiful story. I love this one so much. I sobbed with the book. I freaking sobbed with the movie. I've watched the movie numerous times just because I felt like it was a pretty good adaptation. There was definitely some things that was left out, but you know, that's typically the case with adaptations from books. But for the most part, I really liked the way it portrayed the story afterwards. So I definitely recommend this one. It's about Kaya and her life growing up in the marsh. And everybody refers to her as a marsh girl. She lives a very different life than everybody else. And some sad things have happened to her. She's been abandoned a lot in her life. And we just get to see this strong-ass female character dodge all her obstacles and jump over everything that's in her way, and it's just so beautiful. And then we get a love story and we get a mystery and all of this. What? It's so good. It's emotional, it's lovey, it's suspenseful, it's so many things tied into one beautiful story that I honestly want to get up and go watch the movie again. It was beautiful. I loved it so much. I gave this book 5 stars. And I recommend it to a lot of people still. Like, I think this is a good autumn, summerish read. It just gives those vibes. So if you haven't read Where the Crawdads Sing, I definitely recommend it. I sat on it for a while and was just like considering starting it. And I'm so glad that I did. It was so good. So good. And then we're about to talk about this 4-star read, which was so neat to me. But before I show you the book, little context. I had this book maybe 3 days. I was reading it, enjoying it. When I read a hardcover book, I take off the sleeve because I don't want to damage it. Well, I ended up spilling a milkshake all over the sleeve anyway. Talk about heartbreak. I'm literally at some point going to rebuy this book just because I love the cover, and the fact that I don't have it anymore makes me so sad. But see, this could be anything. You don't know what it is. But it's The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, I want to say. And wow, I really love this book. It was so different than the things you typically, or the things I typically read about. This book is about, okay, so when you die, you go to a library instead of like the waiting room or heaven directly or whatever. You go to a waiting room. Or no. So you go to a library. And in this library, there's so many different shelves on the books. Yeah, we're just gonna go with it. There's so many different books on the shelves, and each book contains a different way your life could have went if you would have made this decision differently or this decision differently. There's so many different books and so many different lives that you could have lived. And while you're in this library, you're just going through and you're asked, like, there's a librarian there that we get to like grow close to and everything. And she's just like, which book would you like to do? And you tell her which book you'd like to do, and you go into that life. If you love it, you can decide to stay, and that will be your life. But if not, you just go back, and you know, there's just this whole like soul searching. It's amazing. I love this book so much. It just kept me on my toes because I was like, well, I mean, oh my God, is she gonna choose this life? Is she gonna choose this life? And honestly, the message that came from this book was so beautiful. I really, really recommend this one to everybody if you like something different. I don't really know what genre you'd call it other than fiction. Just the way it's written, the story it tells, the messages behind the story. I really enjoyed it, like a lot. Oh yeah, and there's a time limit. You can't just have forever to look through these books. No. You have a time limit and you have to get on it. So next, let's talk about the second to last book. The two last books are thrillers. I only read 2 thrillers last year. Isn't that so sad? But they were 2 good ones. So first we're going to talk about, I'm not even going to try to say his last name because I don't know how, but The Silent Patient by Mr. Alex something. It was so good, guys. I love this book. Like, even reading the synopsis gave me chills. I was just like, oh my God, what? Okay, yeah, he is a criminal psychotherapist. His name's Theo. And there's this woman in the rehabilitation or whatever, wherever she's at, that, where was I going with that? Anyway, there's this woman that's locked away because she was living this perfect life, perfectly fine. And then one day out of the blue, her husband comes home from work and she shoots that dude in the face 5 times. In the face. And then she doesn't speak like ever again. So she goes to this place. Nobody can get her to talk or tell her story or explain why you shot this man 5 times in the face. But this one psychotherapist, Theo, he thinks he's got this. He's like, oh, I can get her to talk. Let's do this. But yeah, so we just get to follow Theo in this story, and we get to see, is he gonna get her to talk? He's gonna ask her all these questions, and you know, he just gets to interview her, but she's not talking. And we just get to see, like, why did she kill her husband? Like, what happened, you know? Like, you went from being a happy person to shooting your husband. So we just want to figure out what happened, and I really, really enjoyed this one. It was like, I loved it. I want to remember how it ended though. Oh my God. See, I love the idea of doing this video because I've been going through and like reading the last few pages to like, you know, catch myself up. This book, oh my God, read it for the plot twist alone. The thriller aspect of it is amazing, but the plot twist, I never saw that coming, like, at all. So I was definitely surprised. I'm surprised again, like, oh my God. Definitely read this book. It'll keep you on your toes, and who doesn't love a good thriller? And it is really good. It's well written, and the plot twist, crazy. Okay. And last but not least, by any means, because oh my God, this is a 5-star read for me. The sad thing about it is I had just got into reading and I don't know, it just didn't seem interesting to me. My mother-in-law had given me a book and she was like, oh my God, you have to read this. And I was like, okay, I'll read it at some point. And I put it on my shelf. I just continued reading my romance. It was a thriller, so I was just like not jumping to go read it. So I just put it on my shelf, and this was after I had read something by Colleen Hoover. And I walked over to my shelf and I put the book back on the shelf, and I looked at the book that she had given me and I was like, holy crap, that's written by Colleen Hoover? Like, I didn't know that. Verity. Okay, so I had this book sitting on my shelves for so long and I just didn't even know anything about it. And then I was like, oh, well, it's Colleen and I've liked her book so far, so why not get into it? This book was insane, guys. Okay, so in this book, we follow Lowen, and she is the way this book starts, guys, the first page, I'm pretty sure this is the book that starts. Yeah, the first line of this book is insane. It grabs you from the very beginning, and like, don't let it let you go because it's so worth it. Oh, the plot twist in the end, I was left kind of confused, but kind of like, what? But, so we follow Lowen, and she has actually been offered this job to ghostwrite for an author that's in a bad predicament and can't really finish her books, but everybody loves them, so she has to get this last book put out. And so she's hired by Jeremy and Verity Crawford to come stay in their house, you know, kind of go through her notes, all the ideas she had for where the story was going to go, so that she could pick it up and have it go that way, and they could have a finished book series. So Lowen moves in and she's going through these notes, but she happens upon a manuscript, and it relates to some very dark times that happened in Jeremy and Verity's life. And it just seems like so real. Like, it's like she found her journal and it's all her admissions that everything she's ever done that's wrong. And like, they're scary admissions. Like, it's not something you'd want to read in a house that you're staying right next to that person, you know? So yeah, Verity, she's not like, she can't get up. She doesn't really see her much. She stays in her bed and she's taken care of just because she literally can't write her book. She was in an accident and it just left her not really able to do things. So yeah, we just get to follow the story of Lowen picking up this story and running with it, but also in the midst of it all, finding this terrifying manuscript, and she starts considering, should I tell the husband what's going on and what I found, or should I mind my own business? And we just kind of figure out, like, what is she going to do? And then feelings start being had between Jeremy and Lowen. And so I'm only saying stuff on the synopsis, I promise. I'm not spoiling anything. Yeah, but as Lowen's feelings for Jeremy begin to intensify, I just lost my place when I picked it up. She recognizes all the ways she could benefit it if he were to read his wife's words. After all, no matter how devoted Jeremy is to his injured wife, a truth this horrifying would make it impossible for him to continue loving her. So that just gives you like a kind of idea of what could be in this manuscript. But this book was just so good. I loved every single plot twist in it. I was just like, this was my first thriller after getting back into reading, so I was just like, you know, it was crazy. So I really enjoyed that. So out of all the books I read in 2022, which was only like 32 books, I didn't start reading until like June, I think, and I wasn't as good as I am now. But yeah, these are all the books that we just went over. I recommend all of these to you guys, especially Verity. Out of the stacked, Verity and the Midnight Library are probably two I so recommend, just because of how intriguing the story is and how well written it is. I really recommend those two. I really recommend all of them. The more I look at the stack, the more I'm like, well, I should probably just stop picking up my books because this seems to happen every time. But yeah, with that being said, those are some mentionable 2022 reads that I just kind of wanted to go over and tell you guys about, just because I enjoyed them so thoroughly. Why can't you too? So if you've read these books, tell me, what were your ratings? What were your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I want to know everything. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you're leaving with something. I don't know, maybe more love for a book that you already love, or maybe wanting to reread one of the books you've already read, or wanting to read a new book. That's my goal. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next week for, I don't even know, we will see. I love you guys and have an amazing week. Read plenty of books and be kind.